So Second Chronicles chapter 3, Solomon is finally getting all these resources together and now starting to assemble things, getting it all ready to build the temple to God, basically. Verse 1, then Solomon began to build the house of the Lord at Jerusalem in Mount Moriah, where the Lord appeared unto David his father, in the place that David had prepared in the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. So this is, if you want to know where that threshing floor is, where they saw the destroying angels come through, and they saw, it says here that the Lord appeared unto David in that place as well. That's Mount Moriah, basically where the temple was built, where we don't have much of that temple left today, but it's up in that area. In fact, if you know your Israelite tourist attractions, there's the Wailing Wall. It's the last remaining wall of the temple, basically the ancient temple. So that's the area not far from Dome of the Rock and those areas as well that are very sacred. Dome of the Rock is a very sacred Muslim site, whereas the Wailing Wall is a very sacred Jewish site. So there's several places back there that are really sacred places to go that they can allow tourists in, and that's kind of the area where Solomon's building his temple, basically. Verse 2, and he began to build in the 2nd day of the 2nd month in the 4th year of his reign. Now these are the things wherein Solomon was instructed for the building of a house of God. The length of cubits after the first measure was 60 cubits, the breadth 20 cubits. So now this is getting into understanding a little bit more of, they put gold in these areas, they put, this was this big, this was this wide, this was how it went. They overlaid, the beams, they put gold plating over a lot of stuff in there to make it look fancy. So I'm not going to necessarily read every one of these verses, but just so you know, it's talking about the measurements and the weights and how they assembled some of these things to put it together to build the temple. Now, verse 10, it talks about the 2 cherubims of image work. He overlaid them with gold. So they would build these cherubims, and then they would put gold plating over the top of them, basically. So they looked really good. And I was talking about the size of those. 20 cubits long is pretty good. So I think a cubit was, 2 feet or something like that, I think. Somebody had a comment in one of the past videos. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. She mentioned the measurements, the conversion, but I don't remember what it is right now. But that's the thing, is they're building this out. These are not small cherubims. These are pretty big cherubims. They're good size. Talking about the veil of the temple in verse 14. Verse 15 made the 2 pillars of the 35 cubits high. So he put all these cubits, put all the pillars together for the Holy of Holies. Made the chains and the oracle, put them on the heads of the pillars. So a lot of this is not uncommon for some of the things that happened in the tabernacle that it was revealed to him to have them build. But now they're making it, instead of cloth, the walls of cloth, and making it so they can take it down and move it. This is permanent. This is rock. They're making this solid so that it's not going anywhere, basically. So that's what chapter 3 is about predominantly, is that construction of the temple, some of the measurements and weights and things, and how they put it together. So let's jump into chapter 4 as we continue on.